Hey everyone, it's Lexie. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you the top 5 books that I read this fall. So overall it was like a mediocre reading season. I guess you can say there were some books that were like okay, and then some books I really loved and some books I just did not like. So I was like all over the place. So basically the setup of this video is that I'm going to go through all the books that I read in September, October, and November, give you the rating, and then the ones that I liked the most, the top 5, I will kind of go into further detail about it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So in September, I first read Secrets of a Charmed Life by Susan Mesner, which I gave a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I then read Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. Moving on to October, I first read What Happened by Hillary Clinton, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. I then read The Woman in the Castle by Jessica Shattuck, which I gave a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, which I gave a 2 out of 5 stars. Finally finishing out October, I then read Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. Then lastly for November, I first read Quiet by Susan Cain, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. I then read Dead Stop by Barbara Nicholas, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Into the Bright Unknown by Ray Carson, which I gave a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So actually for this one, I'm actually just gonna do 4 books, because there's like, when I'm looking at the list here in my little bullet journal, I have 4 books that just stand out the most. The other ones were just like mediocre, but these were the ones that stood out the most to me. So the first one would have to be What Happened by Hillary Clinton. This was a book that I was really excited to read once it came out, because I know there'd just be a lot of, there's just like, especially everything that went on with the election. I think it was a really good book to read just with everything. So basically this book chronicles everything of how, like, basically when she decided to run, what was going on during the election trail, and how like the aftermath of everything. And I think this book is bittersweet. It is really heartbreaking to see how she felt after everything that happened and losing, and just like everything that happened. Just hearing from her perspective was just really interesting, and her side of things, and it was just a really good book. I really enjoyed it. And there was one chapter that I was really like, I think it's amazing. I think everyone needs to read it. It's called A Woman in Politics, and it described basically the sexism that takes place, and just kind of the glass ceiling, and just kind of the things that happen. And it's really frustrating, and it makes me really want to just shatter that glass ceiling and just earn my place in the workforce as equal. So I think that one is really eye-opening, and just shows how women in politics are set up to fail, and how men, like some men, just don't really respect that. And it was really frustrating, but I really enjoyed reading from it, just learning it, and just how those who overcome it, it's just amazing. And you know, we all need to band together to this. So I found it to be just really interesting. So I really liked reading that. And it was overall, like, it was good. She does go branch off into a lot of politics, obviously, but like there were some things where I was like, I don't know who that person is. So I just kind of skimmed through that. But overall, it was just really interesting to kind of see how she coped with everything, and like what her plans are moving forward. So if you were kind of upset with the election, I think this one would be a really good book to read. That kind of, it's like some closure, but it also has an open ending too as well. Next would have to be Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. So this one I was really excited about, because I was a huge fan of the Wonder Woman film that came out over the summer. Like, it was just really good. And this, like, basically just, I want to just preface this and say, you can't associate what you know with the movie to this book. They're separate entities. So I was really confused, because it takes place in present day when Diana is like 16, 17. So that really confused me, because I was like, it's World War I, how do they, it's before World War I, how do they have helicopters? But just so you know, because I was really confused for a little bit. Basically it follows Diana, who, this girl ends up being shipwrecked right outside the Mascara, and so Diana saves her, and she finds out that this girl is a Warbringer, which essentially means she's a descendant of Helen of Troy. So she causes there to be destruction and war and killing with humans, and like leads to like big world wars. So basically she and Diana go on a mission to kind of break the curse, while there's these people out to get her and kill her. So I really like this. There's some really good feminist moments in here. I don't have my book with me, but I put a tab in it because it was just really good. And just seeing Diana interact with the modern day world, and like how walking down the streets of New York with being catcalled and how she handled it was perfect. I did feel this book was slow at times and the pacing was a little bit off, but it was just a really fun read, and just seeing strong female friendships. And it has a very diverse cast of characters, which is really good as well. It does add some diversity to that. It raises questions about racial issues and kind of sexism, and it has a good feminist twist to it. So if you're looking for everything that like a book that has basically everything in it, this is the perfect book for you, and with a strong female character. So I highly recommend this book. The next book would have to be Quiet by Susan Cain, and this was a book that I think I read at the perfect time. I think it was, like I said, I've talked about this book a lot, but basically there is someone in my program who said like I'm too soft-spoken, as if it was a bad thing. So I was feeling very down about myself just in general with this. So I think I read this book at the perfect time, because it talks about the power of being an introvert and how, you know, society is set up for extroverts to kind of succeed, and not necessarily the best environment for introverts. So it kind of just like shows how there was a shift in that, and kind of around the 1920s and all that, to kind of extrovert ideals, and how workplaces are now kind of focused on the extrovert, like everyone talking and all that. So but it also kind of talks about the power of being an introvert and what we bring to society that extroverts don't necessarily do, which was really interesting. It also gives you kind of tips on how to improve yourself. And the author does have certain chapters where she kind of weaves in very important either political figures, historical figures, or just people from every day who kind of have overcome that are successful, and just kind of tips and tricks on how to do it. So this was like an amazing book, and I think this is a perfect book to read if you are an introvert, and it makes you feel very self-empowered, which I really enjoyed. So this book was just amazing, and I just read it at the perfect time. And then lastly would have to be Dead Stop by Barbara Nicholas. This is the second book in the Sydney Rose Parnell series, and I read Blood on the Tracks, the first book of the series, over the summer, and I loved it. And basically the premise of this series, it follows Sydney, who is an ex-Marine who is now who's come home from war, and she is now a railroad cop, which apparently is a thing, but who knows. And she kind of goes like solves murders and all that, so that kind of tie in with the train. And what's really unique about this series is that Sydney has a canine sidekick named Clyde, who belonged to, like, whose owner like got killed in Iraq, sorry, that she was in love with. So and like the book also does a good job at shedding light on PTSD, and how there's not necessarily a lot of good resources out there for people coming back from war, like to treat that. So it does shed light on that issue and how Sydney kind of struggles with that. And so basically the premise of this one is that the kind of owner of the railroad company that she worked for, his son, his family has been slaughtered, his wife has been basically run over by the train, the twin sons have been murdered, the husband is in critical condition in the hospital, and the daughter is missing. So basically this book covers the first 48 hours of them trying to find this daughter, and it was just really good. There's so much character development with Sydney. She's so complex and dynamic, which I really like, and she is flawed, which I like, and we kind of see her struggle with her demons and her flaws and all that. So I cannot wait for the next one to come out, because it left on such a cliffhanger, so I'm really excited. So if you're looking for a new murder mystery series to start that's a little bit unique, I highly recommend that you check this series out, because it's only 2 books, so it doesn't take long for you to be caught up, and it's just amazing. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite books are that you read this fall. And so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.